Dal is not a good source of protein. I was scrolling through Instagram the other day and I came across this post that was about how dal is not a good source of protein, and it had blown up. A lot of views, a lot of likes, especially from South Asians, because it was addressed to, Indians and why we're skinny fat, and it boiled down to dal being a bad source of protein. Here it is.
This is for all the skinny fat Indians. Dal is not a good protein source. To get enough protein from dal, which the Indian Health Institutes recommend 1 gram per kilo, you would need to be consuming at least 1 to 2 pounds of dal every single day. That's absurd. And the other problem with dal is that its bioavailability is low. Yes, dal has protein, but it doesn't have abundant amino acids. It's missing cysteine. It's low in methionine. This is why so many Indians are skinny fat, because they're not consuming quality protein sources, and what they think is a great source of protein, it's not. There are far better options. Paneer, yogurt, cheese, eggs, mutton, chicken, if you're non-veg. Less dal, less rice, less carbs. Increase the protein intake, cut back on the carbohydrate intake.
But I want to talk about why everything this guy just said is wrong. Now, the first reason that he brought up is how much dal we would need to eat just to hit our basic protein requirements. And this is a straw man argument because no one just eats one source of protein for the whole day. And you shouldn't. What I always encourage is you eating a whole wide variety of foods throughout the day to hit your protein. At most, I would maybe have dal 3 out of 5 meals in a day because I love dal. If you're eating just dal, stop doing that. You need to eat more foods. Now, the second point he brings up is bioavailability. One of my favorite YouTube channels, Mike the Vegan, actually made a great video about this, and he analyzed the research and studies that went into bioavailability and how it was actually measured and how it's so inaccurate. And new science has actually come out saying that it doesn't matter. If you're eating dal, you're going to eat it with rice, you're going to eat it with bread, naan, potatoes, something. Now, he says that dal by itself has low bioavailability, but he also fails to mention that dal with rice, boom, complete protein. Dal with potatoes, boom, complete protein. The usual foods that we eat with dal makes it a complete protein. At minimum, 90% of your amino acids. Now, this is taking into account the bioavailability being correct. Research says that it actually doesn't matter because our body processes amino acids over a period of time. So as long as you're eating from a wide variety of foods throughout the whole day, you are going to hit your protein requirements. So no one is just going to eat dal in one meal. And even if they are, as long as you're eating not just dal, but you're eating beans, you're eating from nuts, you're eating a whole food plant-based diet, you're easily going to get in your protein. So that's a point that a lot of people bring up when it comes to a vegan diet, about the bioavailability of vegan protein and how vegan protein in general doesn't have all your amino acids. But they fail to understand no one is just going to eat beans by itself. I mean, if you are, that's great, but I always mix beans with something like rice, something like bread, something like potatoes, other foods that make it into a complete protein naturally. Now, when you look at most diets, especially South Asian diets, Indian diets, we do that naturally. We have beans, we have rice. We have dal, we have rice or bread. We always mix something with carbs, and that in itself makes it a complete protein. Not every meal you have to eat has to have 100% of your amino acid requirements, because your body isn't going to process it in from just that one meal. It's going to process it over a period of time. Now, the last thing he brings up is, and this really bothers me because I see this, it's already so big in the South Asian fitness community, how people have such a negative view towards carbs. Rice is bad, bread is bad, naan is bad, carbs are bad. The amount of people, the amount of all the South Asian people that I've come across to lose weight, they would go on complete ketogenic diet, low carb diet, paleo diet, any of those fad diets just to lose weight faster. And there's this notion that carbs and white rice in particular is completely bad for you, and that needs to stop. White rice is not bad for you. It's not bad. White rice is great food. I eat white rice every day. I've eaten white rice every single day during my cut, and I honestly prefer white rice over brown rice. This brings me to my last point. Every study that's been done about type 2 diabetes, about insulin resistance, how South Asians in general have a genetic predisposition to insulin resistance. It comes down to following a high carb, whole foods, plant-based diet, reversing the effects of type 2 diabetes. The problem is saturated fat. And with people like that promoting high saturated fat meats as an alternative to reverse the effects of type 2 diabetes, to prevent type 2 diabetes, it's completely false. It's not true, and it's not backed by any science. Every single study shows that following a whole foods plant-based diet that's naturally low in saturated fat, is the best diet to prevent and even reverse type 2 diabetes and to reverse insulin resistance. And it is the healthiest diet out there possible. So follow a high carb. Carbs are not bad for you. Carbs are not bad for you. I'm going to say over and over again. The only thing that matters if you are trying to lose weight is calories in, calories out. The reason why you are skinny fat is not because of carbs. It's because of calories. You're eating too much calories. And South Asian foods, the one problem with South Asian meals that I've found is oil. That is the biggest problem. It's one of the healthiest foods out there. Things like dal, things like, kidney bean curries, all these curries mixed with rice, they are super healthy. But the one thing that draws it down is the amount of oil that is used in Indian foods. That's why I've made so many curry videos where I use barely any oil, spray oil, or I encourage using no oil at all, using water instead of oil. Because oil is just unnecessary calories. And it is a lot of calories. It's not even a little bit. A teaspoon of oil has hundreds of calories. And I would rather get those calories from more white rice instead of from oil that you don't even feel when you're eating food. So if you actually want to not be skinny fat, eat at a caloric deficit. That's the only thing that matters. Calorie deficit. Reducing your calories. Finding out your maintenance calories and then putting yourself at a deficit. If you want a guide on how to do this, I have a free guide, completely free, on my website. Link in the description, where you can do the maths, come up with your own calories and how much of a deficit you need to be. I have the entire guide for free in the description box down below. This is the guide that I used to put myself at a deficit of 2,500 calories. And that's what worked for me. So it's not carbs, it's not the lack of protein. If you follow a whole foods plant-based diet, if you're eating from a wide variety of foods, you are going to hit your protein. You are not going to be skinny fat if you reduce your calories.